Hello, it's me, Kokoro, and we're gonna be in an interview with David Ochs, talking about the Behemoth design and art department and character development. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so starting with the most simple thing, how did you start doing flash animations? How did you meet it and discovered it?
Well, I was always drawing when I was a kid, and my dad was a software engineer, so we had like computers lying around all the time, and I was familiar with using them because of that. And my parents always encouraged me to like pursue my art. They always,
Right.
they always would tell me good job whenever I did a drawing. But I guess one day my dad got like some art software, like Adobe Photoshop and like the CS suite,
Okay.
and also Flash when that was like Macromedia Flash.
Oh, Macromedia existed.
Yeah, that's when I knew. That's how I learned about Flash. So I think I opened that up and was just like naturally drawn to like the fact that you could animate in it.
Okay.
And I think my dad saw that I was interested in that program, so he signed me and my sister up for a class where they like teach you how to use that program. So I learned like a bunch of the ins and outs of Flash from that class. I think I might have been like, I want to say like 14, 15 or 16. I was a teenager.
Okay.
And my interest was actually in hand-drawn animation at the time. So I kind of ended up using Flash as a tool to like get my drawings into the computer and like color them. So I was drawing on paper with a pen. I think I would use a Sharpie because when I scanned the drawings into the computer and then put it into Flash.
Oh, you could scan your drawings handmade.
Yeah, I would scan my hand drawings into the computer,
Okay.
and then the Sharpie marker was much easier for Flash to like, I don't know what the word, like translate that into Flash strokes. And then I would actually in between. So I would do like a lot of the key animation on paper, and then I would draw with a mouse in Flash.
All right.
Because in between with the mouse was just barely doable. I couldn't really draw that well with a mouse, but if I had like 2 lines that I was drawing in between, then I could do it. But I got like a lot of shoulder problems from drawing with a mouse in Flash.
Yes, it's
So
very hard.
Yeah, I haven't done it in decades. I don't recommend it. But I didn't have a tablet or anything, so I wanted to have a tablet, but I think it was too expensive at the time.
Yeah.
So I just kind of got used to Flash in that way, and then later on I started using it for more like cartoony stuff at art school.
Yes, that makes sense. And also, drawing with a mouse is pretty hard on a computer. Recently.
Oh yeah.
And
I hit
very
Control
much.
Z a lot. Like I had to
Same.
redraw the line like 100 times.
Same. I had to be used to it for a while ago.
Oh, you were drawing with a mouse too, huh?
I used to draw with a mouse back then when I didn't have a graphic tablet.
Wow.
So yeah.
know.
So the next question is, which Behemoth game was the first you worked for?
Well, when I interned in the summer 2009, Castle Crashers had just come out a year before, and they were working on Battle Block Theater. And I didn't work on the game directly, but I got to sit around and play it with Dan, and I'd throw out ideas with him.
Right.
So I don't know if that counts, but the game that I worked on for real was Alien Hominid Invasion, which was last year.
Okay,
You had your
I
own
remember that.
What's that?
You did merch for Castle.
Oh yeah, I did merch, and I did like illustrations for merchandise for Castle Crashers in 2009.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
The orange princess, the red skeleton battle, right? So if you ever saw the Orange Princess, kind of realistic looking, that's David.
Yeah, she's on a skateboard.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, he's the skateboard design.
So yeah, also the next question is how do you get invited into the Behemoth team? When, for example, when was your first time getting there?
So I didn't know Dan personally, but I had a friend in art school who's really talented. His name's Nelson. And I think he'd been like talking to Dan through the internet for a while. And he was a huge fan of Dan and his games. And so Nelson had a meeting with Dan. And then Nelson invited me along because he thought I should meet Dan. And this is while we were at art school. And I thought Dan was really, really cool and nice. And I don't remember what I showed Dan. Probably my student film, but for some reason he thought that I was good enough at art that they offered me an internship. And
Right.
So me and Nelson both had offers for Pixar internships that same summer. And we both decided that we would rather do the Pixar internship because it seemed like too big of an opportunity to pass up. But what happened was Pixar rescinded their offer, and that's a whole other story. So basically I had the summer free again, and I was like, oh, I should go work at this really awesome video game studio with this really cool guy named Dan. And so I think the summer 2009 was when I got in there.
Oh, then 2009.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, but I haven't been working at the Behemoth for most of that time since. I only worked there for a summer, and then like 13 years later I came back.
Okay. Alright, next one is what's your favorite thing you made during the development of their video games?
I think my favorite thing was I got to work on this character who's a boss in Alien Hominid Invasion. His name's Juiceman.
Juiceman. Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, Dan did the design and like kind of had all the ideas for him, and I got to animate him. But he's really fun and juicy to animate. So that was like a lot of fun. He's really colorful and wild and weird.
Yes, his colors. I like his color palette.
Yeah, that was all Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good color palette.
Yes, he's very exciting to see.
Is he?
Yes, indeed. He's my favorite boss from all the Alien Hominid Invasion game. I was too excited.
Nice. Yeah, I like the way he runs. I think that turned out really fun.
Yes.
Also, the story beats that lead up to Juiceman, right? Like
That's true, yeah.
when you go to the HQ.
Yeah, there's like the moment at the door to the final boss every round where the agent has like a weird little, he's trying to like stop you from going in. And he keeps on trying different things and it doesn't work out. And then he eventually turns into Juiceman. Pretty funny.
Yes.
Kind of like a little story, little episodes.
Coco, is it okay if I'm adding in details during the recording? Is it
Yes, you
it
can
against
go
the
ahead.
rules? Okay. I just want to make sure that we don't miss any credit for David, because when he did those story beats, there's a bunch of different permutations. So
Yes,
if
understood.
you shoot the guy, if you don't shoot the guy, and then how many guys are in the next one. Yeah, it was complicated. It was very complicated. But it set up Juiceman, the revenge of the guy that you kept shooting his friends.
Yeah.
Yes, I really like the cutscene when the agent gets into transforms into Juiceman. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So the next one is tell me a bit about your work in your department. Example, what do you do in the art department, and if you're enjoying it, or some difficulties you had back then, or actual, etc.
So when I was an intern, I actually got the opportunity to like try and make my own little video game. That was really fun, but mostly I was focused on making like merchandise images, and that was actually really cool. For some reason I think Dan liked that I was doing a different style with like the clown princess. Like he actually wanted something that was different than the Behemoth style. But now when I'm working on the video games, so I'm like trying to match Dan's artistic style as best I can, and that's really fun. But also it can be challenging because the rules of Dan's style are hard to pin down.
I break them.
He breaks his own rules all the time. But what I do kind of depends on the month. Like right now I'm editing a trailer. This week I've been editing a trailer. Sometimes I'm drawing images for marketing. Sometimes I'm animating for the video game that's happening. So it's kind of like, I guess, a hodgepodge of different things that I get to dabble in. But I mean, I do enjoy all of it. I actually like that I get to try different things, because I do get a little bored if I'm doing the same thing for too long.
Yes, about the comfort zone.
Yeah, like I like learning new things or trying new things, and I don't think it's too difficult. I think my biggest challenge is trying to match Dan's style, because I'm always asking myself, how would Dan draw this? And it's hard to know sometimes, because I think Dan, when he draws, it's just like he unlocks a portal to another dimension and some wizard inspires him. I don't know.
It's a stream of consciousness.
Yeah. So I try to like be weird, but it's hard to be weird in the way that Dan is. But you try your best.
Yes, it can happen mostly when you try to get out of your comfort zone and want to try most things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next one is what was your best achievement during your career as an artist so far?
So I think maybe my best achievement was my student film when I was in art school. I worked really hard on that, and it turned out pretty good. But that was like really stressful and painful to make. So it was a good achievement, but something else that I think is a personal achievement of mine that I like better was working on this show called Clarence at Cartoon Network.
You work for that?
Yeah, I worked on Clarence.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, you know the show.
Yeah, I used to watch it when I was like 10, 12, if I remember.
Yeah. Well, that's who we made it for, 12-year-olds.
Okay. Hey, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, that show, so I got to work with my friends, and everyone that worked on that show was really, really great. So it was just like a really awesome job to have, and we were all just trying to make each other laugh. It was a lot of work, but it was also like one of the best times of my life. So I feel like as an artist, that was an achievement in terms of like, oh, this is something that I really love to do. And I get to do it with other people that love to do it too. And this Behemoth is like a very close second. Almost the same.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah, but Clarence is really funny, and
Yeah.
I don't know. We had to make it really fast, so we were like being really productive as an artist too. So it just felt really, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's just like a lot of fun.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
crazy that you watched the show. That's really cool.
Yes, I really liked it.
Good. I'm glad.
Yes.
We liked making it.
Next one is, do you have any experience that made you learn something new during the development of one of the Behemoth games?
Yeah. So I worked. This is my first job at a video game studio. Mostly I worked in the animation industry before this, so it's like a whole. There's a lot of overlap because we're still animating, but video games are a different format. So I'm learning all the time from Dan a lot. He's like he's got a wealth of experience and knowledge, and he's self-taught, which is crazy to me. Like, I went to art school. Dan didn't go to art school, and he's better than me still. You can do it. You can do anything if you set your mind to it. But yeah, I learn a lot from. Mostly, I learn about the difference between like cartoons and video games, because we're still animating, but the purpose of the movement is different in video games, especially because a lot of the animations you do in video games are repeated over and over, and so you're kind of looking at the animation in a different way because you're going to be seeing it over and over and over while you're playing it. So you pay a lot more attention to different things than if it's just right. Like in a movie, a character will run for like 3 seconds, and then that's the only time you'll see that run. So it's just you just have to make it good enough and feel right for that moment. But in a video game, sometimes a movement has to work for like 3 or 4 different things that are happening, and it's the same movement.
Yeah, it's pretty different.
Yeah, but like we're still using animation techniques, but it's just kind of different. So that's the thing that I noticed when you asked that question.
Yeah, it's pretty different from an animation for series, since as you said, from the video games they repeat itself.
You know, one thing you haven't covered at all yet is the cinematics on Alien.
Oh yeah,
We've done a ton.
Oh right, the cinematics.
Yeah.
I think I just worked on like the last one, didn't I? Or like near the end.
Yeah, maybe I'm mixing it in with all of the story beats for the guy, but I thought you did more. Maybe
that's true.
That's right. Fernando Finnemore did a lot, and then you did the last couple, right? So the one with the bomb being thrown in the air with the chain from the helicopter and everything, crazy shot.
Yeah, so that's kind of more my comfort zone. So like I just took all the knowledge I got from working on cartoons to do that. One thing I would like to learn more about though is like the coding side of video games.
The coding side, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever know how to do it all on my own, but it would be nice to just like understand it a little better.
Yes, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I've like taught myself a very small amount of coding here and there, so I think I understand the basics of it. But when you're making a whole video game, there's so much going on. I don't know how it all works, but I would love to learn more about that.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one is, how is your relationship between you and the other workers or the other workers of your team?
I would have to say it is great. Everyone here is really great. Everyone here is nice, and Dan is awesome. The other artist, Patrick, he's super chill. Like I don't know if you're looking for some drama, because there is none.
Yeah.
Everyone's just so great and chill and helpful, and like we're all just doing our best and trying to make something cool.
That's cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really awesome workplace.
Yeah, so they're pretty chill and friendly there.
Yeah,
Hey,
no, and it's
nice.
also really small. There's like 20 people in this office,
Maybe-
somewhere around
oh.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and the next one is, do you help any other companies or video games besides the Behemoths?
Let's see. I wrote a list. Like I mentioned before, I worked in like animation before this. So this is my first video game job, but I've worked at Pixar, Leica, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Netflix,
Oh,
this other small studio
okay.
called Cuckoo Studios. So I've worked in a handful of like animation studios. I've worked on movies and series mostly.
Like which ones? Besides Clarence?
Oh, you want like all the shows and movies I worked on?
Yeah.
Um, at Pixar, I worked on Cars 2,
Cars 2.
Braveheart, Monsters University.
Oh, that's a pretty fun movie.
Yeah. Then I went to Leica and I worked on Kubo and the Two Strings.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I storyboarded on that. And then I worked on Clarence, and then I worked on Apple and Onion.
Apple Onion. Oh, you work on that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that one was really fun. There might be another show I'm missing in there. I worked on this show called Go Go Corey Carson, which is on Netflix. It's for preschoolers.
I gotta check it out.
Uh,
Yeah.
Good. It's actually visually really really interesting. It looks like stop motion, but it's all done in the computer.
Oh, alright. Okay.
And I worked on this adult animation called, what is it called? Inside Job. That's
Inside
also
Job.
on Netflix.
Okay. That one sounds familiar for me. I'm gonna look it up later.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was really fun. It was a lot different than anything I've worked on before.
Yeah.
Because Netflix was like a new studio and they were doing things differently.
Yeah. Hey,
It's
that's
cool.
really nice.
Yeah.
Alright, next one is, are you experienced working in any other department besides the art department? If not, would you try to like one sometime?
I feel like this week I got to work in the marketing department a little. So I'm editing a trailer, but I think otherwise, yeah, just either the art or animation side of things. But I wouldn't mind doing other stuff. I would like to, but I don't know if I'm qualified, you know?
Yeah.
Like it'd be cool to be a tester for a week, but I don't know if I have the skills
It can
necessary.
be possible if you try.
Yeah. Like maybe level design or, you know.
Oh, level
I don't
design
know.
is very fun.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know. I would love to learn more about that and try it.
Yeah.
Depends on the game. Coding would be cool, but I think I would pull my hair out because I wouldn't know what I'm doing. So I'm gonna stay away from that for now.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah. Do you try to make video games yourself?
I actually tried once making a fan game, but then I said no, no, I definitely don't know how, cause I don't know how to code, and
Yeah.
I didn't have enough workers, so yeah, it got cancelled for at the moment. I probably gonna how can I say it, revive it sometime, but not now yet.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you have tried. That's great.
Yes,
Don't give
it's a
up.
plan. It's a future plan.
Yeah.
The next one is, what is the workflow or progress you currently use during the development of the video games?
Are you asking about my personal workflow or just the overall workflow of the game and the company.
It can be both.
Okay. Personally, I wait for Dan to tell me what to do. He's my boss.
Right.
And then so when I like do a drawing, for instance, I'll do like a rough sketch. I'll do a few rough sketches to like have options, and then I'll show Dan. And then he'll kind of pick one that he likes more, and then I'll do a few versions of that if I have time that are more cleaned up, more final. And then, I'll show Dan again. And if he has any notes, then I'll do those. If not, then I'll just kind of put the finishing touches on it. And that's true of just images and animation in the video game. So, I'm just trying to get Dan's vision to become reality. And if he wants me to put my own take on things, then I'll do that too. I'm not
sorry
too
about
familiar
that.
with... What's that?
Hold on. That was my cell phone.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you can keep up.
I'm not sure about the process of the entire video game at the studio. We're just finishing one right now, but I wasn't really involved with it. And I came on near the end of Alien Hominid Invasion, so I haven't really gotten to see the inner workings of how a video game is made here yet.
Yeah.
But it seems to me like there's an idea and you make a basic version of that, and then you create art and functionality hand in hand at the same time until you have something that's working, and then you edit and test and make it better from there.
All right. So yeah, so that's your personal workflow, right?
Yeah.
All right. And about the general workflow, about the whole team?
Oh, the whole team?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The workflow of the whole team is we just kind of we hit our goals and we communicate. We have a meeting every week where we stay up to date on where everyone's at, and that's helpful. So we just kind of we kind of do our work, and then every week we check in, sometimes more often if we need to, but you got to check in with Dan to make sure everything's going the way he wants it to. And besides that,
All right. So he directs everyone in the team.
more or less.
Or,
I
all
might
right.
be wrong, but is that about right, Dan?
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dan's the man.
That's the man.
Yeah.
I never even think about that.
Yeah.
So you're-
I think it would be too stressful if I thought about that, like all that responsibility.
Yeah. Well, we can take care of ourselves. We just look to you for input.
Yeah, just the main direction, and then everybody goes in their direction.
Yeah. I mean, we all work here, so we should have a pretty good grasp of what Dan is looking for, but we don't know everything. So
I can give you more
right.
details with my interview on that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty nice. That's a pretty nice workflow, but
yeah, I'd recommend it.
Pretty
Yeah.
good.
sounds pretty fun. Next one is there anyone that you consider a good influence for your work that you've made into your work department? It can be more than two.
Are you asking about just artistic influence in general, or people that work here at the company?
It can be mostly artistic into the Behemoth.
Okay. Um. So I feel like Dan's style is kind of when I'm working here at the Behemoth, I'm basically trying to let Dan's style influence me as much as possible. Because a lot of the stuff we're making is like I think Dan's style has been almost branded as like the Behemoth style. Like it's almost the same thing.
Yeah, it's pretty similar.
Yeah. So when you work at the Behemoth, we're kind of working on in Dan's style because the Behemoth is Dan's artistic style. So I try and like copy or mimic that as much as possible. I have my own like personal artistic influences, but I don't really I'm not really like utilizing that when I'm working at the Behemoth.
Yeah, it can be pretty tough depending on the art style.
BR style?
Yeah. Like for example, dance art style that he uses on his video games.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how difficult was it to mimic dance art style, for example?
That's a great question. It's one that I struggle with
I've asked
constantly.
before too. Actually.
All right.
It's really like I think the hardest part is like I said earlier, it's like it would be nice if there was a list of rules that you could just be handed and be like, oh, like if I ever have a question about what I'm doing, I can reference this list of guidelines. But whenever I ask Dan to look at a drawing, I never know what he's gonna say. So I think that's the hardest part is just knowing how Dan thinks about things because it's nearly impossible to know it perfectly, but we try. But I also struggle. Like Dan's told me the way he thinks about things, and he mentions shape a lot of the time.
Oh, the
And that's
shapes.
something. Yeah, like he says he thinks in shapes when he draws, and that's actually not something I really do. So that's something I've been trying to do more.
How do you think of it when you draw?
I don't honestly know. Like I guess I think more in like lines. And I think about shapes vaguely, but like I don't feel like I have control over a shape because I'll start drawing a shape, but then as I'm drawing it, I feel like I'm being forced to do things that like change what I might have planned. So I'm still wrestling with that, but I think the main thing is to just try and make it fun and weird and let that be my influence.
Yeah.
Look at Dan's drawings and try and be fun and weird. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to draw like Dan though.
Yeah.
Especially when you get it right.
Yeah, it's
Especially when
pretty
Dan
fun.
likes you. Yeah. I mean, you're doing that too. I saw your art.
Indeed. It's a pretty fun art style.
It is, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is how do you manage feedback and criticism on your work?
So I was lucky enough to go to a really cool art school, and I got to go through the Pixar story internship. And a huge part of what I learned at those places was how to take criticism and feedback. The way I see it, the way I kind of view art in general, I guess, is there's a perfect version of whatever you're doing that exists somewhere, but it will never exist in reality because nothing is ever really perfect. And I think of criticism and feedback as another tool to help you get closer to making the perfect thing, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, no one is perfect here, so
Yeah. So I think the thing you have to learn really early on as an artist is to not take anything personally. And it's kind of a weird mental gymnastics to like put a lot of time and effort into a piece of art and then present it to someone and not have any pride about it, and not really you can't really like spend your time defending why it's good, because at the end of the day the only thing you did was put time and effort into it, and it doesn't mean that it's good just because you put a lot of effort into it. You can put a lot of effort into something and it'll be really bad. So when you get feedback, that's kind of like getting a fresh pair of eyes on it, because you'll never be able to see it that way again after you start creating something.
Yeah, something
Because
like if it's bad, you can learn more things about improving your work, something like that.
Yeah. So when I'm getting feedback, I think what I'm doing is I'm focusing on the feedback, and I'm trying to be curious about like why that feedback is happening. So for me, it's more of a conversation, because I want to know more about like why someone is seeing something that way. Sometimes it's really clear right away. I'm like, oh yeah, I can see why you say that.
Yeah.
But other times it's not, and you need to like understand it more. So I don't really. I think there's people that take criticism poorly, and a big part of that is having pride or trying to defend the artwork.
Yeah.
And I think you can defend your artwork, but you have to have like a good reason for it. Like you have to have an explanation of why you think something is good the way it is, and you have to be able to like have that conversation with whoever's giving you feedback.
Yeah, it can be pretty hard sometimes, depending on the people, how you take the criticism and feedback.
Yeah, I think it's a big part of being a successful artist, really, is
Yeah.
because if you can't take feedback, then you're gonna have a hard time improving.
Yeah, mostly it's, if it's for the visuals of the game.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I mean, there's feedback in video games that's not visual. It's about how things move or how they feel.
Yeah.
And video games are tricky because sometimes someone will say like, "Oh, I wish this like thing was faster," and then you end up just changing like the sound effects, and you didn't make it faster, but everyone thinks it feels faster now.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to like read between the lines a lot with feedback.
Yeah,
And
it's a pretty
sometimes
hard
feedback
thing.
is. What's that?
It's a pretty hard thing.
Yeah. One thing that I learned in art school that I thought was actually really valuable was if you're the one creating something and it's just for you, it's not for someone else, feedback can be the wrong feedback, but it can be just as helpful, because if you get feedback and someone has an idea and you really don't like it, that can help you find out what you do like even more. Because if someone gives you an idea that's the wrong direction, it will push you in the right direction that much more.
Yeah. Yeah, it can make you improve.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure Dan gets that a lot making
Oh, yeah,
games.
you get lots of feedback when you make games.
Yeah. Sometimes it's probably really bad feedback.
You get every single type you can possibly imagine.
Yeah. So you have to learn to like ignore a lot of feedback if you're getting a bunch of it, because you'll get all sorts of different things.
Well, I would say interpret it.
Right.
Personally.
Yeah.
Right?
Because
Like,
all feedback is valuable.
you don't ignore. Do you really ignore feedback? I don't want to.
No, I guess what I meant is like sometimes feedback is wrong feedback, but it's not bad feedback. It just means like, oh, this isn't what I'm like. They pointed out something that I really don't want it to be like, so I'm gonna push the other way with it.
Yeah, something like, no, this isn't what I'm looking for.
Yeah, like someone's like,
Yeah.
oh, I wish this monster was cuter, and you're like, oh, well, it was supposed to be scary, not cute at all. So that means I need to make it way less cute,
Yeah.
and then that's not even an option, you know.
Perfect. Then the last question is: do you have any tips or advice for people who are starting in the art department?
Um, is this question about working at the Behemoth specifically, or just working in art in general?
It can be general, mostly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I think like there's a lot of things that I think are important. Like you got to work hard. Um, I don't know. I think a lot of advice I would give has already been given, but something that because I thought a lot about this question. Something that I think is important as an artist is there's this concept of like developing your own style as an artist. And then the flip side of that to me is being able to collaborate on a project that maybe isn't your style. And I think it's important to be able to do both really well. Some artists will be successful without, being able to adapt their style because their own style is just so good and they can make a career off of just doing whatever they do in their own way. I think Dan's actually a good example of that. Like he is the Behemoth. His art style is the Behemoth. The success of the company is a lot of it is based on his art style.
The icon of the Behemoth style.
Right.
Yeah.
But in general, I think it's really hard to know or to say if any one artist's style is gonna like give them success. So I think it's important to be able to adapt your art style, so that you can work in a collaborative environment on other people's projects, because that's most of the jobs you're going to get in art are going to be working for someone else and doing something in the style that isn't yours.
Yeah, not for one himself.
Right. And there's pros and cons to each thing, and I think personally I wish I'd spent more time developing my own style because I don't actually feel like I have a personal style.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it would be. Like whenever I'm gonna do a drawing on my own, I never have a way that I'm thinking about drawing it. I just kind of do something and it happens. But with the Behemoth, it's almost nice to have a style to mimic for me personally, because when I'm on my own, I don't really know what style to do things in. But it's nice to have that guidance when I'm copying someone else's style.
Yeah.
But developing your own style, I think, is like a really good exercise as an artist, because you might spend a lot of time trying to make a style that looks really cool, and it's not something that people like. And it's kind of a gamble because you've invested a lot of time into trying to make something that works. But on the flip side, you can always keep working on it and evolve it until it's something that is cool. Like I have a lot of peers and friends that have like pretty successful careers based on just creating a cool style that, is in demand. And I really admire that because I don't know if I could do that, but I think it's really cool when someone does that. And creating a style that hasn't been seen before and is still like appealing and cool is just like such a challenging thing, and it's really cool to see when someone pulls it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, personally, I feel like a chameleon. Like I just kind of blend into whatever art style project that I'm working on. And it actually, I think being able to do other people's style kind of ties back into the feedback thing, where you kind of put your pride aside and you're able to create art that's being asked of you instead of doing the thing that you want to do.
Alright, so would you consider more like having various art styles?
What kind of styles?
Something like mimic various art style like you do in the Behemoth
Yeah.
on any other company.
Yeah, I feel like I'm decent at mimicking other styles, but I don't feel like I'm a master at mimicking any style. So I feel like I'm okay at a lot of things, but not really a master of anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wish it was different, but you know, that's how things turned out.
Yeah.
David doesn't give himself enough credit.
I might be too humble, but that's just how I see things. I also, when the question is like advice I have for artists, I think
Yeah.
one thing to think about is like when you put money, if you want to make a living as an artist, the way that people like deal with money emotionally can sometimes make it really hard to be an artist. Sometimes it makes it simple for some people. Like they're like, oh, I just need to do the art and get the money. But I think it can make things complicated for other people, and being able to value your work and being able to like know what your art is worth is a really valuable skill to have too.
Yeah, everyone as an
Especially-
artist worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good advice is there.
Social
Yeah.
media complicates that a lot too.
That's
right?
true,
You get
yeah.
more likes on someone else's character than your own.
Yeah. Yeah, social media can, I think it can lead people astray a lot because they'll chase likes, but likes don't always equal something that someone is willing to give you money for. Or it doesn't mean that you'll be able to work at a company doing someone else's style because maybe you don't know how to. So I think like my advice boiled down is be able to have your own style, but be able to adapt your style and know your worth as an artist.
Yes.
If
Yes,
you're not good,
adaptation
you
is very important.
Yeah. And the downside is like being able to know if you're not good enough. But don't be too hard on yourself. But
Yeah.
if you're not good enough, then you just have to work and get better.
Yes, like keep going.
Yeah. Like there was a period in my life when I knew I wasn't good enough. I actually got offered a job and I turned it down because I knew I wasn't good enough for it at one point. I didn't have enough experience.
Where was it?
It was some production studio in Hollywood in LA. They wanted me to do my own series based on a comic book. And I was right after my first student film, and I was like, I have no idea how to make a good series. Like, I barely know how to animate a short. Like, I don't know what to tell other people and all this stuff. I didn't know the pipeline of anything. So I was like, nah, I'm not ready. Some people think I'm crazy for turning that down, but
I think you did the right thing.
yeah, maybe I would have learned as I went, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Being able to
Hey.
take feedback is a valuable skill too.
Yes,
It all
it's
goes-
it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think if you, even me early on, like when you're a kid doing drawings, hopefully all you get is encouragement from the people around you because they want you to keep getting better and trying. But at some point, somewhere in there, you're gonna start getting feedback that's like, oh, this isn't good. Needs to be different, and like that's something that's hard to deal with, and you need to like work to overcome that feeling, whatever that feeling is. I don't know how to describe it, but people call it ego or pride, but you have to like be able to put that aside and just take the feedback as something that's trying to help you make something better.
Yeah, make like the feedback can be something good even if it's positive or negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
So
gotten
yeah.
to a point where positive feedback isn't really valuable to me anymore. Like, I need to know what's wrong, not what's great.
So yeah. So that's all for the interview. Thank you so much for participating and contributing to my questions. So
Yeah.
yeah,
you.
it was a pleasure.
Is the interview long enough? Didn't you say it had to be an hour?
50 minutes.
Oh,
It's
okay.
very good. Yes. So yeah, thanks very much for your time. It's very appreciated.
Yeah.
I learned things
Oh, great.
today.
Yeah, everyone learned things. I also learned stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I messaged you. I messaged you the title of David's student film that got referenced
Yeah.
a few times. You should check it out sometime. It's really cool.
All
Still
right.
holds up. And then
Okay.
so tomorrow, same time, I'll send you a link for John, and he'll do probably Zoom or something with you, and then I'll show up the next day.
Yeah, that
Um,
could help. Thanks a lot.
yeah.